Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I am Tammy, and today we are finally going to talk about dating horror stories. So I've been putting this together for a while. We chatted about it a little bit in my video. I don't know, it's been probably a couple of months ago now. And I had plans to do this video, and then the ankle thing happened, and it's just been kind of crazy around here. But I'm finally ready to sit and talk about it. I had some friends over today, so I was already dressed, and I thought, well, I have real clothes on. We'll go ahead and we'll talk about these dating horror stories that I have had. So if you are new here or if you missed that video, I have been on and off like dating sites for a lot of years because I'll get on there, maybe I'll meet somebody and, we'll date a little while. Maybe I won't date anybody. Maybe I'll just go out for a first date with a few people and it just doesn't work out, whatever the case is. But over the course of time, probably the last 10 or 15 years, I have accumulated quite the catalog of horror stories. Now, when I say horror stories, just to clarify, I don't mean anything horrible happened to me. I just mean like, what the heck? Like some of the weirdest and craziest stuff I feel like, and then some stuff that I'm just like, why? Like, why would you lie about that? So I thought it would be fun to put this video together because I've told like people I know some of these stories and everybody's like, there's no way that happened. Like some of it is really unbelievable. And you're like, there's no way that you have this much bad luck. But like I said, this is not like it happened all over the last year. This has been over a long time span. So I'm just putting that out there. I promise you, guaranteed, every one of the stories I'm going to tell you actually happened to me. Sadly, y'all are going to feel so bad for me at the end of this video. But they all happened. They are all true stories. And if some of the guys that are a part of these stories are out here in this world watching, then y'all know who you are and you know what you did. So, here we are. Thanks for the content. But anyway, I've got my little notebook here because I wanted to make sure that I gave y'all all of the good ones. Now, there are others that weren't as interesting as these, but I just thought I would share them. Some of this stuff, y'all, I am telling you, it is not for the weak. It is not for the weak. So if you have dated, and I say online dating horror stories, but honestly, you could meet somebody in a grocery store and have any of the same stuff happen to you. So if you have dated in your 40s and 50s, really any time, but really I feel like it gets real bad when you get older because I think, like for me, I feel like that these grown men who have children and grandchildren and careers and all that, well, some of them, like you feel like they won't act like 20-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why it surprises me. Well, nothing surprises me anymore, honestly. But it still just kind of like makes you do a double take because you're like, you can't really be this way. Like, tell me you're not really this way and expecting to find a relationship with somebody because you're going to be alone forever. And I'm going to tell you, if this, what has been happening to me all these years, is all that is left out there, then I will be alone forever because this is some stuff, y'all. But anyway, I'm going to stop yapping. I'm going to go ahead and get into this just so y'all can kind of get a feel of the craziness that has been my life these last few years trying to date, okay? And for y'all who don't know, I did turn 50 this year, so this is a lot of dating in my 40s and 50s is where these stories came from. Okay, let's get in it. Okay, so one of the first stories that really kind of got me was, so I talked to this guy online. This is the way all these stories are going to start. I talked to this guy online. We had enough, it felt like, in common that we agreed to meet up. And I don't let somebody come to my house. I don't tell them where I live. I don't let them pick me up. I'm not getting into a car with somebody I don't know. We meet somewhere that's in a public place. And that's it. If they won't agree to that, that's a big red flag and I'm not doing it. So we agreed to meet up at a little kind of bar / restaurant place downtown. And so, like I said, we had talked, everything seemed great. Okay, so I go and I meet him. And when I walked in, for those of y'all who have not dated online, you'll find that women lie about their weight and men lie about their height. I don't know what that is. Like, for either side, it's like, do you really think somebody's not going to notice? Like, Or do you think they're just not going to care? Like that, it drives me crazy. Don't tell me you're 6'2" and then show up and be 4'11". I mean, just don't do it. Okay, just don't do it. So anyway, this guy, I think he said he was like close to 6 feet, something like that. And so I meet him. He's every bit of 5'9", y'all. Every bit of 5'9", which is not a deal breaker. That's not where I'm going with that. But you've started out lying about something, and it's something that is so obvious that, like, why? If you're short, you're just short. Who cares? But don't lie about it. That's my biggest thing. Like, why lie about stuff? So anyway, I meet up with him at this restaurant. Now, I had a friend that lived across the street from me at the time. And so I told her, I said, look, I'm going to meet this guy. Have your phone on you just in case I need an escape route. And if y'all know anything about, well, if you're a woman and you're out here dating, and if you've never had the escape plan, what are you doing with your life? You always got to have a way out. And I do it mostly, it's not really a safety thing because, I mean, I can just get up and walk away, but I try not to be rude, you know, but sometimes you just need to get out of stuff and you don't want to have to explain it. So any guys watching, we do that. And if we get an emergency call in the middle of the day, chances are it's you. It's not really an emergency, it's you. So anyway, we had worked out ahead of time that, you know, to keep her phone on her or whatever, just in case. So anyway, I meet him, right? And number one, he's way shorter than he said he was. Didn't really look a lot like he said. So he'd been using filters on his pictures. And he smelled like a cat litter box, like straight up cat pee, like ammonia. Okay, like reeking of ammonia. And I was like, there is no way I'm going to be able to get through this. So, but again, didn't want to be rude. So I sat down across the table from him and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm racking my brain. Like, how in the heck am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this? And so while we're talking, he keeps saying the weirdest stuff. Like, I used to be a runner. I used to be like, feel my butt. I was like, feel your butt? What are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, touch it. Like the muscles are so hard in my glutes. And I was like, what twilight zone have I entered here? What is happening? And so I was like, okay, this is too much for me. So he gets up to go to the bathroom and I call my friend and I said, look, I said, you have got to get me out of this. You have got to get me. I don't care what you do, but you got to get me out of this. And she was like, girl, put your phone on speaker when you answer it. And I'm gonna call you in just a few minutes. I was like, he's in the bathroom. Give me 5 minutes for him to come back to the table or whatever. And she was like, all right, I'm gonna wait a few minutes. She said, then I'm gonna call you. But when I call you, put me on speaker. And I was like, okay. And I don't normally pull my phone out, like if I'm on a date, because I think that's rude. But like he knew I had kids, so I had told him, like I'm going to leave my phone on the table because, if my kid's young, whatever, if something happens, I want to be able to get in touch with them. But like I'm not, like it's face down on the table. And so anyway, he comes back to the table. She calls me and I'm like, I told him, I was like, oh my gosh, this might be my kid. Just let me, see. And I was like, oh, it's my neighbor. I hope nothing's happened. So I answered the phone. Like I was so fake. Like I'm not a good actor at all. So I don't know, like he fell for it, whatever. But so I answered the phone and I'm like, hello. And she was like hollering. She was like, oh my God. And I was like, what is wrong? Like, I'm on a date. Like, I can't talk on the phone. And she was like fake crying. And she was like, I was getting out of my bathtub and I slipped and I think my leg is broken. I can't get up. And then I was trying to play into it. I was like, well, isn't there somebody there that like, can one of your kids help you? And she was like, no, I'm home by myself. And of course I have her on speaker because I'm not being rude. And so he's like across the table, like, oh my God, your friend, she's fallen. And so, I mean, honey, she played it up. Do you hear me? So I told him, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm going to have to go. Like, I've got to go and help her. She doesn't have anybody else. And he was like, okay, well, I'll follow you. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, no, because, has gotten out of the shower and she's fallen, like she's really embarrassed and everything. And I'm just going to go, I'm going to get her and I'm going to take her to the hospital. And so, anyway, he comes back to the table. She was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm going to have to go. Like, I've got to go and help her. She doesn't have anybody else. And he was like, okay, well, I'll follow you. And I was like, no, because, she's got now the shower and she's fallen, like she's really embarrassed and everything. And I'm just going to go, I'm going to get her and I'm going to take her to the hospital. And Like, I finally talked him out of not following me, but he insists on walking me to my car. So, whatever. So I'm like, get out to my car. I get into my car, and so my car door is open, and he gets between my car door and me. So like I can't close the car door. And he was like, "Are you sure you don't want to touch my butt?" And I was like, "Where is this coming from again?" This man pulls his pants down in the parking lot, stuck in my car. I am like losing my mind at this point. So I just hit him with the car. I hit him with the car door. And I was like, I've got to go. So I like hit him with the car door and everything. And I drive off with my door hanging open because he's in the door. And finally, when I get to where he's like, I get ahead of where he's at, like I slammed the car door and I took off out of there, slinging gravel and everything else. So I'm like, oh, thank gosh, this is over with. And he tries to call me, I don't know, 7 or 8 more times over the next day. And I was just like, I never would answer. And finally, he stopped calling. But y'all, that was like the craziest thing. And I was like, that was the first like really kind of weird thing that had ever happened. I did have another time where I had talked to a guy and we agreed to meet up, and he was telling me, oh, he's like 5'9", 5'10", something like that. And I'm like, well, it's a little on the short side. I mean, for me personally, because I'm 5'4". I talk about how short I am all the time. I know I'm average height, but I feel like I'm short and I have T-Rex arms. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But so this guy was telling me, he was like 5'9", 5'10", whatever. We meet up. This man is looking me dead in my eye, y'all. He's every bit of 5'3", because I think he's wearing lift shoes, but short. And I'm like, again, why did you lie about it? Did you not think I would notice? What is going on? If you're a man, please let me know why y'all lie about stuff like that. Please let me know. And for that matter, if you're a woman, let me know why you lie about your weight. Because I promise you, if I tell you I'm a size 2 and I meet you in person, you're going to know immediately that I'm not a size 2. Like, why start something out on a lie? I don't know. Anyway, so moving on to the next story. So years later, I meet this other guy online, right? So we are talking. Everything is going great. We actually meet up and have a nice first date and everything. So the second date, he says, well, let me pick you up. And I was like, okay, because at this time we had met, we had been talking, all the things. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. So he comes and he picks me up. Now, the first date, it wasn't really like a date, like we didn't go out to eat and all that kind of stuff. We just kind of hung out, because I'm just one of those people, like if I go out on a date with you, I'm not the person that orders the most expensive thing on the menu and wants to go do something that's super expensive. Like, because in my opinion, the first date is just kind of seeing if you even mesh well, together. So I don't feel right about doing that and then finding out that I don't have anything in common with them. I feel like I'm wasting people's money. So that's just my own personal thing. I know people who go out and order the most expensive stuff, and it's just not me. So anyway, second date comes around. I'm like, okay, he's taking me somewhere. This is nice, And so he picks me up. We get probably 2 miles from my house. And this man says, do you think I could borrow a little bit of money for gas? Excuse me? Excuse me. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, if you don't have money to put gas in your car, how are you taking me out? What is happening here? And so at that point, I'm like, well, it's kind of too far. I mean, not that I couldn't walk 2 miles, but it was a little bit, we're kind of far out from my house or whatever. And of course, you're not going to walk down the interstate, right? So we're down the road, and I like look over, and literally the gas light is on. And so I'm just in disbelief. Just, how sometimes, like, I'm usually somebody who is pretty quick with a comeback. Like, I'm usually that person. But sometimes things happen that are so just, they catch you so off guard that your mind doesn't even have time to react to it. And so I'm like, what do you mean, can you borrow some gas money? And he's like, well, I don't have enough gas in my car. I was like, do you have enough gas to take me home? Because that's the only place I'm going. And of course, no, we probably would have run out of gas. So I told him, I was like, you know what, whatever, pull over in, like at Walmart, pull over. I'll put $5 in your doggone tank and you can take me home. That's what we're going to do. Well, all I had was like a 20, right? And I dang sure was not fixing to hand him my credit card or my debit card. So I had like $20 in cash, because I always, whether I'm going on a date that a man's paying for or not, I always have money with me. I always have a little bit of cash with me, because you never know. So I told him, I said, pull over here at Walmart. I said, you can take this 20. I said, put a little bit of gas in your car and enough to get me home. And then you can figure out what you're going to do from here. But part of me also, I wasn't being too mean, because I knew I had to get home. And in my mind, it never occurred to me to just say, leave me at Walmart and I'll call somebody else to come get me. It just did not register. It wasn't there. So I hand him the 20 and he gets out and he's like, well, how much do you want me to get? I said, $5. That's enough to get me home. So, anyway, so he puts gas in his car and I'm not looking. I'm just sitting in the front seat, just fuming, just steam coming off my head. So he gets the gas, gets back in the car, doesn't give me my change, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I'll ask for it in a second. Like, this is all like split second going through my brain. So he pulls up from the gas pump up to like the parking places up at Walmart. And he says, if you don't mind, I need to run in here real quick. Well, my stupid mind, I'm sitting here thinking maybe he's got to go to the bathroom or something, you know. Maybe he's embarrassed and he's just got to go to the bathroom or something. So he goes in, comes back out with a Coke, a bag of chips, and a pack of cigarettes. And I'm like, did this man really just spend the last of my $20 on cigarettes, chips, and a Coke? Yes. If for anybody who was wondering, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Did he bring me a Coke? No, sure didn't. He got himself a Coke and a snack and a pack of cigarettes with the change that I had left from my $20 bill after he put gas in his car with it. So at this point, I'm just like, whatever. I don't care anymore. I was like, take me home. And this man couldn't figure out why I wanted to go home. Could not for the life of him fathom why I was upset. The audacity, y'all. So he takes me home, starts to get out of his car at my house. I said, no. You can get back in your car and you can hit the road. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, we were going to go on a date. You knew you didn't have money to even take me anywhere because you didn't even have money to put gas in your car. I said, you need to leave. And that's it. So he leaves, calls me when he gets home. I made it home. I don't care if you're on the side of the road. Okay? I don't care. But he lets me know he's made it home. And when can we get together again? Excuse me? Excuse me. I don't think so. And got mad at me. Mad at me because I would not see him again. Y'all, what the heck? What the heck? So calls me over the course of the next week, trying to talk me back into going back out with him. I was like, dude, no. He was like, well, I was just a little short on money. Then you shouldn't have ever asked me out. Look, people get short on money. I get that. If you can't afford to take somebody out, don't ask them. Like, or if you are like, you know, or he could have even said, look, I'm a little short this week. You know, I really don't have the gas money to come. Maybe we can do this next week. And a few things would have happened from that, if I'm being honest. If you can't afford to put gas in your car, honestly, I'm probably not going to want to date you. That's just, I mean, that's just me. That's not where I'm at in my life. And that's not, you don't have to be rich, but I need you to at least kind of match me a little bit. Like, I have things I want to do, and I want to date somebody who can afford to also do those things, if that makes sense. Like, I don't expect somebody to spend all their money on me, but even if we're splitting it, I want you to be able to pull your own weight in a relationship, right? So anyway, that was the end of that little, dating experience with him. Okay, so this is not really like a dating site horror story, I don't think, but just a dating experience that I had. So I dated this guy off and on for a couple of years. And why I thought to do the on and off thing, like I should have just let it go the first time it was off, I've never understood why people do the on again, off again. It just kind of happened that we were a lot of times single at the same time. And so we would run across each other on a dating site, and we'd be like, hey, hadn't seen you in a while. Hey, hadn't heard from you in a while. Hey, you want to get together? Let's hang out, whatever. And so that's how it kind of was the on again, off again for me with him. But he just had some very weird ideals. Like, a couple of things. Like, I had a really good friend close to me that passed away. And this man, like, I called him and I was crying and I was telling him, and we were seeing each other at the time. And I was like, so-and-so passed away. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I'm really upset, all this kind of stuff. Like, me just bawling and squalling. And he was like, oh, okay, sorry to hear that. Never offered to come over. Would not go to the funeral with me. Like, just weird stuff. And then, like, a year later, I think, this was another time that we weren't together, and then we had gotten back together and we're kind of hanging out. His dad died. I didn't even find out till a few days afterwards. Like, didn't go to the funeral. Wasn't asked to go to the funeral. Was not allowed to go to the funeral, whatever. And I know what some of y'all are probably thinking, well, he had somebody else, that's why he didn't have you at the funeral and stuff. And maybe that was the case. I don't think it was with this particular guy, but he was just one of those. He's like, well, when I'm upset about stuff, like, I just want to be by myself. I don't want to be around other people. And I get that. Like, I understand that. But, like, for me, when my friend passed, like, I'm not that way. I don't want to be alone. Like, I want somebody who's going to be there. And it just was very odd to me that, like, he didn't even think to say, do you want me to come over? Like, nothing. And there were times I even asked him, like, I was having a bad day afterwards, and I asked him to come over, and, like, he wouldn't come over. Like, he was doing something else. I'm washing my car. Like, so weird to me. And I understand people have different personalities and stuff, but that's just odd to me. I mean, is it just, y'all tell me. I know I'm going to get a lot of opinions in the comments, but it's just kind of crazy. And then another kind of on again, not really a on again, off again, but so there was a guy that I dated for a while, and we lived together and everything. So we were fully, in a relationship that way. And we ended up breaking up. And so probably 6 months later, like, he texted me or whatever, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? He was like, I really miss you, and all this kind of stuff. And I had ended our relationship. And so he was like, I really miss you. And, like, can we get together? Just let me take you to dinner. I just want to see you, whatever. Well, we ended up going to dinner, and we ended up deciding that we were going to try to work things out. And so we had started seeing each other again, and it had probably only been a couple of weeks that we had decided that we were going to get back together. And I'm sitting in my bedroom, because at the time, my daughter and her husband and my two grandsons, my granddaughter wasn't born yet, but they were staying with me. They were living here because they had been trying to save up to buy a house. And I was like, why pay a mortgage or rent when you're trying to save money? Just move in with us for a while, and you can, y'all can just save everything that you're making, and that way you can get your house. And so they did. They were only here for a couple months, saved up every penny, and bought their own house. But all that to say, so y'all know I work from home. Well, when they came to move in, my office ended up being their bedroom. So I was working out of my own bedroom for a while. And so I was sitting in bed. I had my computer and everything sitting in bed on this particular day. I wasn't at my desk. And so my phone rang. And I normally won't answer phone numbers that I don't recognize. But for some reason, I answered the phone. And it was a woman. And she said, "Who is this?" Don't call and ask me, "Who is this?" You called me. I said, "Well, who is this?" And she said, "I think you're dating my boyfriend." And I said, "Who is your boyfriend?" And she called his name. And I said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "But I had no idea he was your boyfriend." And so I was like, "How long have y'all been together?" Because I'm trying to work out the details of, were they together before we broke up? Or kind of what is going on here. So she was like, "Well, we got together." It was after we had broken up. She said, "We got together and like we're still together." And I was like, "But he's here all the time." And she was like, "But he's here too." And I'm like, "How the heck is he here?" So I texted him at work, and he works in a plant. So they don't always have access to their phones, but he's kind of higher up. So he had his phone. And so I texted him and I said, "Who the heck is such and such?" My words probably weren't that nice, but I said, like, "Who is this?" And he was like, "Well, what do you mean?" I was like, exactly what I asked. "Who is this? Who is this girl or this woman, whatever?" And he says, "Oh, well, she was somebody that I went out with a couple of times." "Why?" And I said, "Because she's on the phone with me right now." I said, "And she's telling me that y'all are together." And he was like, "No, we're not. We're not together." And so I told her, I said, "Look, I just talked to him and he said y'all are not together." And she said, "He's lying." And she said, "I can show you proof." So while I'm texting him, she's also texting him, and she's screenshotting his responses, or like their text threads, and sending them to me in real time, right? And I'm like, he's telling me, because at this point I got mad and I called him. And so I'm on the phone with him and he's telling me, he's like, "She's crazy." If anybody ever tells you their ex is crazy, it's probably them. It's not their ex. But he's like, "She's crazy. Like, she won't leave me alone," all this kind of stuff. "I'm not with that girl," all this kind of mess. So the screenshots that she's sending me of them talking at the same time he's like telling me this is him telling her that me and him are not together, that I'm crazy, and blah, blah, blah. So he's telling us both the exact same thing about the other one. And then she starts sending me pictures of them together. Like, here we were last week. We've been trying to have a baby. Y'all, I cannot. This man was such a narcissist that he literally, I'm saying, "Dude, she is sending me the screenshots right now that you just texted her 5 seconds ago." But he is still, "No, I didn't." I'm like, I am looking at them. Like, I don't know where, again, the audacity, y'all, the audacity of some of these people. So anyway, of course, I ended things. I told him, this is not going to happen again. You can go right back to her, whatever the case is, all the things. And I ended that. So that was a fun time. That was a fun time. Okay, this is probably going to be a really long video because I'm long-winded anyway. And when I tell a story, I want to make sure y'all get all the details. Okay, so I've given y'all a dating date, like a couple of first date things. And I've given y'all a couple of relationship things. So this will also give y'all an idea of some of the relationships that I've had and why I'm still single. Okay, so another guy that I met that ended up being just a one date kind of thing. This was just one of the ones too that just left me totally speechless. And I didn't react the way I should have in this situation. You'll know when I get to it. So anyway, so I talked to this guy for a while. By this point, I'm a little bit older and I'm like, "Do you have young kids?" Because I'd rather not date a man who has young kids because, I have grandkids at this point and I don't really want to raise kids. My kids are grown. And so I always tend to ask people, like, how old are your kids? And so he was like, I don't have any kids. I never had kids, whatever. And I'm like, okay. Which, y'all, to be honest, sometimes that's a red flag for me too. Because I'm like, why did nobody like you enough to have kids with you? But I understand medical reasons and things like that. But sometimes it does make me pause a little bit. And I find a lot of times that men who don't have children are a bit selfish, because they've never had to sacrifice for anybody else. Now there are situations where you might have, if you had stepkids or if you had, family that you had to take care of. But 98% of the time when I've met a man with no kids, they're very, very selfish. It's all about them, and they don't understand when you need to do things with your kids. You know what I mean? So anyway, but I'll let that go. He was a lawyer. I mean, all this, of course, is what he tells me, right? Like, he was a lawyer and no kids and all the things. So we decide we're going to meet up, and he's like, I'll come to you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so we decided on a restaurant that we would go to. And so we met up at the restaurant. Of course, he was not picking me up. So we met up at the restaurant. Number one, he was late. Don't be late on a first date, or any date for that matter. Or if you do, communicate that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, he was late, not crazy late, but like, I usually try to get places early so I won't be late. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So anyway, we get there, and y'all, he showed up, number one, in this weird, like 1970s suit. Like, it didn't fit him well. It looked like he had just come from the thrift store. Now look, y'all know I love a good thrift store, but buy the stuff that fits you is all I'm saying. But he was wearing like this old, not like a good vintage either, just like old crusty, like a yellowish brown color. This was the ugliest suit I have ever seen in my life. So the petty part of me wanted to go, I am not going in here and being seen with this man with these clothes on. Because I had worn the place we chose was not a fancy restaurant, and it was lunch, so it's not like it was even a dinner. So I had like jeans and like a nice shirt or something on. And so I'm like, I am either way underdressed or you are way overdressed. And I knew what the answer to that was. He was way overdressed. But I thought, okay, maybe he's just, he's trying to impress, whatever. He's trying to show that he has money. What kind of money? I don't know, because that suit was bad. It was real bad. But, so anyway, we go in the restaurant and, we sit down. And again, I don't order expensive things on a first date. So I ordered water, which I always order water anyway, and an appetizer. And that's what I ordered, like a little nacho kind of appetizer thing. This man orders the grilled tuna with all the fixins and is just putting down beer after beer. Now, not getting drunk or anything, but like he's like drinking several beers, which they're pricey is what I'm trying to get at. And so I'm like, whatever, I don't care, he's paying. So anyway, we sit and we're chit-chatting and everything, and something in something he said kind of made me pause. And he said something, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something related to kids. And I said, but I thought you didn't have any kids. And he says, oh yeah, I have 2-year-old twins. Flat out lie, because I asked you, did you have kids? And you said no. And we had an entire conversation about it. So you lied completely about that, which was very strange to me anyway. And so I was like, that's definitely something I would have found out later. But then it kind of like, I'm thinking, you're older than I am, which at the time would have put him around 50 or so. And I'm like, you have 2-year-old twins? And I think part of it too that got me about that is that he had said it had been a long time since he had been in a relationship. Like, 10 years or something. Now, all of a sudden, you have 2-year-old twins. Where did they come from? Now, don't get me wrong. I do know that babies can happen if you're not in a relationship. But the way that he was talking about his kids, he had been with the mom for a while. Like, none of his story was making sense. So already in my mind, I'm like, nope, this is not going to work. I'm not going to, because he's lying. Even if he wasn't lying about it initially, if it hadn't been based on a lie, 2-year-old twins is a deal breaker for me. I don't want to deal with babies at all. If I'm dating somebody. So, but I'm like, I'm here. I'm going to get through the date. We had already ordered our food. We were eating at this point, right? So I'm like, I'm just going to get through this, and then I'll just politely tell him, look, this isn't going to work for me. So we get done eating. The check comes. He gives the waitress his card, all the things, right? So the little waitress comes bopping back over, and she leans down and she says, excuse me, sir, but your card was declined. And I'm like, interesting. How many attorneys have their cards declined buying lunch? So I'm just looking at him stupid. I'm like, embarrassed. Like, I'm so embarrassed at this point because, like, the little waitress is like, your cards. And I'm like, you think that we in a relationship and we're both broke. So anyway, he looks and I handed you the wrong card. So he pulls out another card, hands it to her. She goes off, to pay, ring it up or whatever. She comes back over to the table. I'm sorry, sir. This card has also been declined. Y'all, I am so embarrassed and mad at this point because my mind, I'm sitting here thinking I'm about to have to pay for this. When I ate cheap and he ordered the most expensive crap on the menu, and I'm fixing to get stuck with this. And so I sat there and did not volunteer my card. And so he says, oh, you know what? I stopped to get gas on the way down here, and I left my card in my truck. Let me go get that card. So he gets up to walk out, and I'm thinking, he's fixing to ditch me. He's leaving me here, and I'm going to get stuck with this check. I was already reaching for my card at this point. And then I look down, and his phone is on the table. And I'm like, well, if that was his plan, it ain't working now. So he's gone for a few minutes, and he comes back in, and he has this third card, hands it to the little waitress. She goes over to the thing. Third card was declined. So she brings it back to the table, and at this point, I'm sitting here like this. And because I knew what was happening, right? And this was the part I was talking about earlier. Afterwards, what I should have done was said, bring me the ticket for what I ate. He can figure out how to pay for what he ate. But because I was just so flabbergasted, it didn't even occur to me to do that. But we sat there a few more minutes, and he gets on the phone like he says, well, let me call the bank because something is not right. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's what it is. Like, still trying to give the benefit of the doubt, even though I knew better. And so he gets on the phone and he calls, and I can literally hear the phone go do, 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 when you call like a non-working number or out of service number. And this man is talking, yes, hello. He's fake talking to somebody on the phone, y'all. And he's like, yes, my funds, like I'm trying to do such and such, and my funds are not going through. And number 1 or number 12, whatever number I'm on now, it's a Saturday. It's after lunch. There ain't no banks open. So who was he even pretending to talk to? So while he's doing all this stuff, I told the little waitress, I was like, here, just take my card. So she went, ran my card. Of course, it wasn't declined. And she brings me back the ticket and all that kind of stuff. I get up to leave. At this point, I don't even care anymore if his feelings are hurt. Like, I get up to walk out, and he's like, oh, wait. And I'm like, for what? And so we get outside. This man's going to try to hug and kiss me. I don't think so. And I'm like, dude, back up. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, are you kidding me right now? And he was like, well, I mean, I'll like Venmo or whatever. Well, I don't know if it was Venmo, whatever the service was at the time, because I don't think it was all the ones they have now. He was like, I'll send you the money back for lunch. Like, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, but it is a big deal. And so he says, so we leave, right? He never gives me the money back, never even asks what my name or whatever was, so he could send me the money back. And I get down the road, I notice this man is following me. Now, the way he needs to go and the way that I need to go are two totally different directions. And I'm like, I call my friend and I'm like, girl, and I'm telling her what happened. I was like, this dude is following me right now. And she was like, do not go home. And I was like, I ain't going home. And so, like, I rode around forever, like just making circles and all this kind of stuff. And I guess he finally realized I wasn't going to go home or whatever. And he finally turned off and went somewhere else. And then I was able to go home. But I was like, what in the heck happened? So he calls me. And I'm like, what? And he says, well, when do you want to get together again? I said, why? So I can buy you dinner next time? What in the heck? So this was another situation where he could not understand for the life of him why I was upset. And y'all, here's the thing. I guess everybody has different expectations when somebody asks you out on a date, but the way that I feel about it is if you ask me out on a date, I'm expecting that you're going to pay for the date unless you say, let's go Dutch, or let's pay for our own. I'll pay for mine, you pay for your, whatever variation of that you want to say. Then I'm okay with that. I'm fine doing that. But when you have the expectation that this man has been talking about how much money he has and he's a lawyer and he's this and I really want to take you out, I don't think it was unreasonable for me to expect that he was going to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was a fun one where I got stuck with the check. Hey, y'all. So I'm sitting here editing the video and I realized that this is super, super long and I have a lot more stories to go. So I'm going to have to end it here for this video. I think we're already at like the 45-minute mark, but there definitely will be a part 2 and maybe even a part 3. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss the next parts that are coming up, because these stories, y'all, just keep getting better or keep getting worse, whichever way you want to look at it. So make sure that you come back for part 2. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. And I will see y'all real soon. Bye, y'all.